Hey, let's talk about a phrase you've probably heard a million times. We are all God's children. It's one of those things people say to bring us all together, but is it actually what the Bible teaches? Let's take a closer look. I mean, you hear it everywhere, right? In movies, in everyday conversations, whenever people are trying to find some common ground. It's meant to be this comforting, unifying idea. And on the surface, it sounds so good. It's loving, it's inclusive, it paints this picture of one big, happy family under God. It's a really beautiful thought. But here's the big question we're tackling today. If we set aside the warm, fuzzy feeling for a second and just look at the text itself, does the Bible actually back this idea up? Okay, so first, let's get on the same page about what people usually mean by this. It really comes from this belief that our relationship with God is totally universal and, automatic. The core idea here is that just by being born, just by being human, you're in. You're a child of God, no strings attached. It suggests that there are no conditions, no requirements, it's just the default status for everyone. And that leads us to the first really critical distinction we have to make. Think about it. Does being created by God automatically equal being a child of God? Are those two things the same? Let's dig in. To get to the bottom of this, we have to go right back to the beginning. Where does the Bible start the human story? The Bible kicks things off with a foundational truth. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, it says, God created man in his own image. Now, this is so important. It means every single person has value, has dignity because they're made in God's image, no exceptions. So, to be super clear, yes, we are all God's creation. The Bible is emphatic about that. But the story doesn't stop there. According to the biblical narrative, something happened that completely changed the relationship between humanity and our Creator. And that something is what the Bible calls sin. This isn't just some minor detail. It's presented as the event that caused a huge fracture, a deep separation in that connection between God and us. Over in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 12, the Apostle Paul kind of explains this. He says that sin wasn't just a one-off mistake. It became a condition that spread to everyone, and it brought a kind of spiritual separation, what the Bible calls death, with it. So it's a pretty logical question, right? If sin caused this major fracture, did it bring us closer to God or did it push us away? It really seems to point towards separation, and understanding that is key. So, if the Bible teaches that sin caused this separation, what kind of language does it use to describe humanity in that state? Well, brace yourself because the terms it uses are pretty stark, and they directly challenge that nice, comforting phrase we started with. I mean, look at this from Ephesians chapter 2. It's incredibly direct. It describes people who are separated from God not as children of God, but by nature, children of wrath. Wow, that is a completely different picture. And if that wasn't jarring enough, check this out. In the Gospel of John, chapter 8, verse 44, Jesus himself is talking to a group of his opponents, and he says these words. He's making a direct statement about their spiritual family line, and you just can't ignore it. This really cuts to the chase, doesn't it? When you see language like children of wrath or hear words like these from Jesus himself, it seems to create a massive contradiction with the idea that everyone is automatically a child of God. Okay, so if people aren't born into God's family by default, there must be a way in, right? And there is. The concept the Bible presents isn't about natural birth at all. It's about something totally different: adoption. This verse from John chapter 1 is absolutely crucial. Listen to the wording. He gave them the right to become children of God. That word, become, changes everything. It implies a change of status. It's not something you already have. It's something you are given. And Galatians 3:26 tells us exactly how this change happens. How does a person become a child of God? The verse says it's through faith in Christ Jesus. It gives a very specific path. So this really lays out the whole process. The Bible frames this as an act of adoption. You aren't naturally born into God's family. You are legally and spiritually adopted into it when you put your faith in Christ. It's a total change of family, a complete change of identity. Okay, let's pull all these pieces together. Let's go back to that original phrase we started with and look at it now with all this context. So here it is, side by side. The common saying is that we're all God's children by nature. But the biblical teaching seems to be that we're all God's creation by nature. The special relationship of being a child, well, that comes through adoption. It's a crucial difference.
So if we wanted to speak with more biblical accuracy, these phrases would probably be a better fit. They still recognize that everyone has value as God's creation, but they reserve that special term children of God for those who've been adopted into the family through faith.
And this brings it all home to a final, really personal question. Based on this biblical framework, it shifts from being about what everyone is to what I am. The question becomes, have I been adopted into that family? It's not just a universal assumption, but a personal reality. Definitely something to think about.